Hello, my name is Turquoise Devereaux. So I broke mine up into 3 different parts because I have more of a community organizing approach at my practicum. So it's micro, meso, and macro, all 3 levels. So when I start with engagement, I engage with students on a micro level at AISS for advocating with them, but I don't necessarily do case management. So it's not this whole plan change process that I do with every student. It's more of an engagement and sometimes assessment, but I don't necessarily do the case management. So I also engage when I do macro work with when I did my workshop, and then also when I present to different departments. It's also phases of engagement. So perspectives that I use is strengths perspectives for the students that I talk to in AISS, and then also when I was facilitating the workshop, before we would start the topics, while I was facilitating the topics, and then afterwards when we would debrief. And then of course the ecosystems perspective, which I evaluate the interaction with the departments of the university and Native students, and examine the different aspects of the social environment that hinder or help Native students. Diversity perspective, that's highlighting issues of race, culture, and gender and age within Native student group, population, and also the staff and faculty at the university and in the departments that I'm presenting at. Person and environment perspective, which that's of course examining the Native student social support, culture, and spiritual importance, and also their transitions from different reservations or homes, and then how the university plays a role in their environment, whether it's negative or positive. And then also the following skills that I used was of course active listening, empathy, and paraphrasing to let students know that I really heard them, but then also I use those same following skills when I present and I answer questions that people have as well. So in the assessment, so the first one is collaboration. So in order to have an organized, professional, and convincing presentation, I collaborate with Native American Studies staff and faculty, and as well as other students on campus that have done research on Native students in the campus climate. Collaboration is needed to relay the messages of urgency and commonality within different departments all around campus. So it's not just me saying it, everybody's saying it. Community and organizational readiness. This is assessing how ready the university is and how receptive they will be to what I have to present. This is really important, and I have had nothing but good luck this semester with receive the openness and departments receiving what I have to say, and really, I guess, pulling them into this little bubble of reality for Native students that sometimes they don't ever see. And so that's really important. I'm getting ready to go to present in front of the dean, so that would be more of a macro level for the whole university, and that what might be a totally different approach. So that's throughout this whole process. I'm actually not finished with this plan change process and what I'm doing, but this helps me lay out everything, and then I can change accordingly depending on what happens or how far we get. So the next assessment is the strengths assessment. So this is analyzing students' strengths and using that while I'm working with the students, especially at the workshop when I had the resiliency topic. That was huge because it really let the students talk about how strong they are and what aspects they're strong in, and then how they can use those to help them be successful in higher education. But then also, I think using or highlighting the strengths on campus with Native student, with the Native American Studies Department, American Native Student Services, many Native student groups, and then also the staff and faculty that are Native on campus, and the inviting Native community. But I think that's also important to highlight while I'm presenting to different departments, because that's something in the university that we can celebrate, and so that definitely helps students and the departments connect. Problem assessment, of course, is so the strengths and the problems I analyzed in the data that I got from the workshop. And so the problem was in the data was advocating for students in AISS shows that there's deeply rooted institutional racism and lack of education from fellow students, staff, and faculty and administration. These problems, like lack of education, cause microaggressions, stereotypes, low retention rates, and Sometimes students feel like they don't deserve to be on campus. So socialization theory, Native students, and the difference between cultural norms, beliefs, and expectations of the university can cause a feeling of isolation and lack of self-worth. The oppression of Native Americans throughout history plays a huge part in this feeling, and also in the discrimination against Native Americans on campus today. The university not making an effort in understanding the socialization between Native students and the university sometimes displays a message of carelessness or non-acceptance, like they're not a priority. So organization developmental theory. This is really looking at the university and seeing the pattern in which the university strives to achieve their mission of diversity and not making the effort to make a definite change within the system. Now, this shows Native students that they are not a priority as well, because the university isn't willing to make many changes and live up to their mission statement. So group dynamics theory. So Native students, this is me looking at assessing Native students, how they work within their own group, how Native students work with other departments, how Native students work with university, and then also look at the group dynamics theory of how departments work within themselves, because I'm presenting to certain departments and providing sometimes a solution. I need to understand how that group of a department works, and also how that group of department works with the university as a whole in the macro sense. So then an intervention. So the first one is, of course, the empowerment model, and that's really empowering Native students by motivational interviewing and also making them feel heard and that their experience are worthy of acknowledgement. That's really important because that's sometimes what keeps Native students in school, and it helps them have that support network. And then also empower them to keep themselves involved with Native events on campus, and then also involved with non-Native events on campus that keep them really in that campus community. But especially, I think also encourage them to create a really healthy, supportive network. And also be collaborative with one another to make change together. So the second one is mutual aid model. So this is, again, encouraging students to attend events that the Native community puts on, and especially like workshops, and creating a strong support system. And then express the importance of having a collaborative effort again. So the third one is community organizational readiness model. So this is doing program evaluation like I am for American Indian Student Services, but then also for the university to see where we can implement different programs and help Native students the best way that we can. And also make changes to some policies on campus so that it'll help Native students strive, make it a little bit easier for them while they're in higher education. And then, of course, organizational and developmental model. This is, it makes a process of prioritizing the diversity statement and making changes to achieve it part of the stages of development for the university. So for the university to really accept how they're going to prioritize that and make those changes within their development, not just as a side note. So, and then the last one is social change model. So this is a program that we've been trying to, that we're actually in the process of making, and it's an endorsement program that any department can adopt, and it would end up being a requirement for that department. And it's for fellow students to take Native American Studies classes, so they would be collaborating with the Native American Studies department, and it would really just give them that education about Native Americans, whether it be like historical trauma or treaties or Native life today or different policies for Natives, just so that it would educate people, and it would alleviate microaggression, stereotypes, and adversity for Native students. But then also it would allow for not just fellow students but staff and faculty to learn as well. So I broke it up into 3 goals, one for the micro, one for the meso, and one for the macro. So the first is the Native students. So goal 1 would be Native students creating a healthy environment and being involved in a supportive network for themselves. And there's 3 objectives. The first is attending Native American events on campus and in the community. The second is support other Native students in order to collaborate and create a more supportive environment for one another. And the third is to utilize services on campus and in community in times of adversity. So goal 2 is for more meso. So this would be departments on campus change their developmental strategies in order to prioritize change for Native students on campus. And there's 5 objectives. The first is to acknowledge Native student struggles, take responsibility for it, and make initiative to change. The second one would be attending educational events to learn more about Native Americans. The third would be to be an ally and advocate for Native students. The fourth one would be to challenge non-Native students' viewpoints that might be discriminative. And the fifth one is to adopt the endorsement program for their department. Goal 3 for the university is to make diversity statement priority and be progressive about change for Native students. This has 4 objectives. The first is administration acknowledge Native student struggles, take responsibility, and make initiative to change. The second is to create mandatory training about Native Americans for all staff and faculty. The third would be hire more Native American staff and faculty. And the fourth one would be support endorsement program and encourage different departments to adopt it as part of their curriculum. So last but not least is evaluation. My first is quantitative analysis of Native student retention, which I'm in the process of now, but we would continue to do that to see if what we're doing for change is really helping. The second is informally debrief, utilize conversations about work in progress and my presentations with Native American colleagues and also other colleagues who have done community organizing work on campus. And the fourth is adjust accordingly. So analyze every presentation and make an effort to adjust accordingly depending on feedback with colleagues and supervisors. And then the last one would be, of course, the achievement of goals. So analyze the completion of goals for the students, for the departments, and for the university, and adjust accordingly in the intervention. Okay, thank you guys.